Next question. I'm a new player and I want to improve as fast as possible. What advice do you have? I believe that practice doesn't make perfect, practice makes permanent.
This is a really good question. So it's a difficult one because I'm sort of going to go back to my military experience or whatever. So I think it's all in the debrief, but the problem with that is you sometimes need someone who understands like the game and understands how it could be done better to make the recommendations right. So I think that's probably where you have to go to the tournaments. You have to go to the good players, and I think this is where we talked about this before. The more good players you play against, the better you become. Right, that's just kind of like the fundamental rules of the game, and the reason why that is because they show you stuff that you wouldn't have thought about before. And when you finish the game, you can ask them objective questions about your performance. So I think it's really important to go into these things without any ego. It's like it's perfectly valid for you to turn up to a tournament expecting to win nothing but learn everything. Be like, I'm going to learn about how my team plays, but I'm also going to be looking at how my opponent chooses barricades and all that sort of stuff. And you can ask them at the time, and they can choose to tell you or not. Some of them might not tell you because they might have a tactic behind why they don't want to tell you. But you can be like, oh, you placed your barricade there. Do you mind if I ask, like, why? Or you can say if it's not too much, or if it's a big issue now, I'll save it to the end. And when we go for a beer in the pub afterwards, you can explain to me what your logic was and why you did that. So I think surrounding yourself with good players is the way to do it. And I think the way you do that is you go to tournaments. So you get lots of games in very quickly against good players, and you spend your time in the margins talking to those good players. Because, like, let's say you go to, I mean, you're quite exceptional, kind of, you managed to get three games in a single club night, but most people get 2 in, right? But a lot of people just get 1 in. And maybe you only play once a week, so you're getting 1 game a week. Well, going to a tournament and playing 4 games in a day, that's like so much more like compound learning so quickly. And then if you're asking your opponent after each game, effective questions, what do you think I did well in that game? Oh, I think you did this. That was really good. What do you think I did badly? Like, oh, I think actually you could have done this, or phrase it in ways that make it so your opponent doesn't feel bad telling you. So, like, maybe phrase it in a way where you go, "Hey, do you think there's anything that I could have done slightly better that game, or do you think there's a way that I could have scored more points that you saw?" And then they can say it in a way where they don't feel awkward saying, like, if you ask them, why do you think I'm so terrible at this game? Then, like, most like people with emotional skills or emotional intellect aren't going to say anything too mean to you, so they might not want to answer. But if you say it in a way of like, hey, I think that was that game was pretty close, or maybe it wasn't as close as I liked it to be. Is there any way that you think I could have maybe got that game to be a little bit closer? Is probably how to do it. So asking those effective questions to your opponents to try and learn from them, and playing against those really good opponents is how you get better at the game. I think a lot of people try and dodge the hard matchup sometimes. That they might look at it and they go, oh, that player in my group is a really good player, and I don't want to play them because I'm scared of losing, or I'm worried that I'm not going to give them a good game. Well, it's like, well, I don't know, just like completely 180 it. Just if it's a casual game, especially, start playing them and then go ask them questions throughout. Why have you done that? And they can explain it, and you can say things like, well, this is what I'm thinking about doing. Especially if it's like a coaching casual game. But do you think there's something that's better? Like, is there anything that you're looking at right now on the board that you're really scared that I'm going to do? And you can still do, like, I'm going to lock in this option. Like, this is the option that I have chosen. But right now, based on the board state, was there something that you would do differently? So, like, if you can actively do that during a game, that's really good. And then if you can't actively do that during a game, then you've got to do it in the debrief, right? So that's where you ask the effective questions. And if you can have a really good opponent like lead you through that debrief process, I think you can get maximum learning from it, because that's kind of what you want to be able to do. And there's a whole bunch of like core instructional techniques that are available on Google, which you can look at. And if you are a particularly good like player in your local scene, like go have a look and see how you can impart these things on your friends, all that sort of stuff, because like you're only going to get better by bringing them up as well, right? So if they keep giving you better games because you've made them better, well, then you're going to then learn more because you're going to play harder opponents, etc., etc. And I think that's what it's all about. So I think you're right. You don't just want to play lots of games. You want to play games against a variety of teams, against a variety of opponents. Best way of doing that is tournaments. And then when you're there, you want to surround yourself with those people and ask those questions. Like, tournaments is a fantastic time to socialize. Everyone loves this game. Everyone loves talking about this game. Like, go and speak to people, and be like, and understand what they did well and all that sort of stuff. And then get on the Discords and read through what people's thoughts are. And take all of it with a grain of salt, like some people are biased, and like, let's say that they absolutely love Legionary, that they might tell you that Legionary is the best thing ever and that you should always play Khorne. But obviously we know, Connor, don't we, that Khorne isn't always the answer, and that actually Nurgle is probably the better choice.
Okay, well, yeah, if you're playing competitively, but yeah. Khorne approves, I think, because Nurgle is the most violent, I think, so everyone wins.
That brings us to the end of the episode. Hopefully you found something new or useful while listening, and if you did, throwing us a like would be greatly appreciated. If you want to make sure you don't miss any episodes, make sure you hit that subscribe button and click on the bell so you get notifications as soon as the next one drops. It really is the best way to help a small channel like ours. And if you can't wait and you do want early access, we have a Patreon where you can get exclusive access to all our content ahead of time. As always, we'd love to hear your thoughts and feedback. Just drop a comment below and we'll get right to you. Thank you so much for listening. I'm your host Ryan. This has been Turning Point Tactics, and we'll see you next week.